In 1987, something happened in the quiet town of Briar Hollow, and by sunrise, everyone agreed to forget it. No police report, no newspaper headline, no funeral, just silence. But silence has weight, and in Briar Hollow, it still presses down like fog over the river. Briar Hollow sits in the northern woods, a mill town built in the 1920s around timber and railroad tracks. Fewer than 3,000 residents. One main street, one church, one sheriff's office. The kind of place where everyone knows your name and your secrets. On the night of October 14th, the power went out at exactly 9:42 p.m. Not just in one neighborhood, the entire town. Streetlights flickered. Televisions died. The hum of refrigerators vanished. And for 6 minutes, Briar Hollow was swallowed in complete darkness. Residents would later say they heard something during that blackout. Not thunder, not wind, something else. A low vibration beneath their feet, as if something enormous had shifted underground. At 9:48 p.m., the lights came back. Clocks resumed, radios crackled, and life continued. Except for one house at the edge of town. The Whitaker home sat near the old lumber yard, a white two-story structure built in 1931. Inside lived Daniel Whitaker, his wife Elise, and their 8-year-old son Noah. By morning, the house was empty. The front door was open. Breakfast sat half-prepared. The television glowed with static. No signs of forced entry, no blood, no struggle, just absence. Sheriff Harold Boone arrived shortly after dawn. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. The sheriff entered alone. He stayed inside for 11 minutes. When he came out, his face was pale. He told the gathering crowd it was a family matter. He told them everything was under control. And then he told them to go home. There was no missing persons alert, no statewide search. By noon, the Whitaker house was taped off. By sunset, the tape was gone. 3 days later, movers arrived. Within a week, a new family moved in. If this were simply a disappearance, it would be tragic. But Briar Hollow had a pattern, and patterns leave traces. In 1962, during another unexplained power outage, an elderly couple vanished from Cedar Street. In 1949, a railway worker reportedly walked into the woods after claiming he heard voices under the ground. Each event shared the same detail: darkness and vibration. Town records from those years are incomplete, pages missing, ink faded, microfilm damaged. It is as if someone carefully erased only certain nights. Former residents, now living miles away, describe an unspoken rule. When the lights go out, you stay inside. You lock your doors, and you do not look outside. One former teacher recalled her father standing by the window during the 1987 blackout. She remembers him whispering, "Not again." She was 7 years old. She says she never asked what he meant. The ground beneath Briar Hollow is riddled with abandoned mining tunnels, long-forgotten shafts from an early coal operation that failed in the 1930s. Officially, they were sealed. Officially, they collapsed. But structural surveys conducted decades later revealed hollow pockets still running beneath Main Street. Cavities large enough to swallow sections of road. Geologists reviewing seismic data from October 14, 1987, noted a minor tremor registered at 9:43 p.m., too small to be widely felt, yet centered directly under the old lumber yard, directly beneath the Whitaker house. What could shift underground without collapsing the surface? In interviews recorded years later, 2 Briar Hollow residents admitted hearing what they described as metal scraping stone. Not outside, beneath them. Then there is the matter of the dogs. Animal control logs from that month show an unusual spike in missing pets. Dogs reportedly refused to enter basements. Some howled continuously during the blackout. One was found the next morning clawing at concrete in its cellar. Yet none of this made the papers. When questioned decades later, Sheriff Boone, retired and living in another state, gave only one statement. "We handled it the way it needed to be handled." He declined further comment. Handled what? A former deputy, speaking anonymously, described something inside the Whitaker basement. He claims the concrete floor had cracked in a perfect circle, roughly 6 feet wide. The earth beneath it, hollow. He said there was no debris, no dust, just a dark opening descending into nothing. According to this account, Boone ordered the hole filled before state authorities arrived. Cement was poured within hours. No photographs survive. No official report exists. If the deputy's story is true, then the Whitakers did not leave. They went down. But that raises another question. What opened the ground? Mining equipment had been removed decades earlier. There were no active drills, no construction crews, and no sinkholes were reported elsewhere in town. Seismologists suggest the tremor could have been a natural collapse of an old shaft. But natural collapses leave rubble. Noise, surface damage, neighbors reported none. In the years following 1987, Briar Hollow experienced smaller outages, brief, controlled, each lasting less than a minute. Residents describe feeling watched during those moments, as if the town itself was holding its breath. Property values remained stable. The school remained open. The mill continued operating. On paper, Briar Hollow was normal. But newcomers sometimes mention a feeling when touring homes near the lumber yard. A subtle hum in the basement. A faint draft rising from cracks in the foundation. In 2004, during routine roadwork, construction crews unearthed a sealed tunnel entrance less than 50 yards from the Whitaker property. It had been reinforced, not in the 1930s, but with modern materials from the late 1980s. There is no public record explaining who sealed it. The contractor who discovered it declined interviews. Within days, the entrance was reburied. Today, Briar Hollow still stands. Children ride bicycles down Maple Avenue. The church bell rings every Sunday. And if you ask longtime residents about October 14th, 1987, they will pause. Some will say they don't remember. Others will say nothing happened. But occasionally, if you speak to someone who moved away, they will tell you about the vibration, about the 6 minutes of darkness, about the way the sheriff looked when he stepped out of that house. And they will tell you the most unsettling part. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. As if this had happened before. As if the town knew the rules. As if Briar Hollow had made a choice long ago to protect itself, or to protect whatever lies beneath it. Because towns do not forget accidents. They forget agreements. And in Briar Hollow, when the lights flicker, people still lock their doors, just in case.